So a common question I hear is, how can I send the same email out every week on repeat? So I'm going to show you how you can do that inside Kit. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the email itself. So I've got an example here. I've called it the weekly meeting reminder. So this is a sequence. It's just got one email in it. That's all it's got in it, and it's just got details. Hello, don't forget we get a meeting today, and then a link to join the call. Let's say. Obviously, the email can have whatever you want in it. This is just for a demonstration purpose. Um, what the important setting you need to be aware of it is up here under settings, and in for the sequence it says, should subscribers be able to restart the sequence multiple times? You need to change the default setting, which is no, to yes. Now you'll get a little warning when you do that, but it's okay. Now the reason you need to set this is because by default every sequence that you have in your email system inside Kit will only be delivered to a subscriber once unless you change this setting. So I've changed that now. I'm going to click the update sequence button, and that's now good to go every single week. We can send that as many times as we want. So how do we send it? Well, we get into automation, create a visual automation. We click new automation, start from scratch, and I'm going to make the tag. I'm going to make the entry point. The trigger for this automation is when a tag is added. Okay, so I'm going to create a tag for. I'm going to call it task and then weekly reminder. Let's call it review meeting reminder. Okay, so that's the tag. So that's what's going to fire this automation off. Anybody who gets this tag applied to the profile will enter this automation. Then the next thing I want to do is I want to add the sequence in. Okay, and Kit will say, what sequence do you want to send? And I'll say, send the one that's entitled, and if I scroll to the bottom, it's this one here, weekly reminder. Okay, now you'll notice in here this little icon has got this sort of circular two arrows in a circular motion. What that's indicating is that this sequence has been configured so that it can be sent multiple times. Okay, if you don't see that little icon, you know it's not configured for it. So that's great. So someone gets the tag added to the profile and they then enter this automation, so they'll get this email. Now there's a couple of things we need to do here. Between, as soon as they join the sequence, I'm going to do something in here, and it might seem a bit counterintuitive, but stick with me and it'll make sense in a moment. So the first thing I'm going to do when they enter this is I'm going to remove that tag again. Okay, so I'm going to click on add a remove tag. I'm going to click remove, and then I'm going to say remove the tag weekly reminder. So they've had the tag applied to the profile. The first thing I'm going to do is remove it from the profile. We then send them the email, and then the very last thing I do is I add the tag back in again. So I'll scroll all the way to the bottom and add the tag in. So the way this works is you'll come into the automation because you've had a tag added. We remove the tag, that's the second step. We then send the reminder out, and then we add the tag again, so that by adding the tag, the subscriber drops out the automation, and because we've added the tag, it puts them back into the top of the automation again, and they can down here. Now, there's a couple of things we want to do in here for a weekly reminder. So let's say the weekly reminder is for a Monday. Let's say the meeting is at 2 p.m. on a Monday, and you're going to review the performance from last week. So what we need to do is we only want this email to go out on a Monday. So if I click on this sequence and I go to settings at the top right here, you'll see in here the days of the week in which it can be sent. Now, at the moment it can be sent any one of these days. I'm going to restrict it to just a Monday. Okay, and then I'll click update sequence. I've also nominated a time, an approximation of the time the emails to be sent, and I've said 9 a.m. my local time. You can make that whatever you want. I'm going to make it 9 a.m. So now when I go back to the automation, I can now see that when people come into this automation, they will stay here until it becomes Monday. So even if when they get the reminder on a Monday, they'll then get the tag added, they'll drop out, and then they'll drop back into the top of the automation again. They'll then get the tag removed, and then they'll sit there. They won't move because it has to be a Monday that this email gets sent. So in order to make sure that subscribers don't get the same email more than one time on a Monday, we need to introduce a delay. Okay, so where we're going to introduce the delay, well, right after the sequence is my recommendation. So I'm going to add in here a delay for a number of days. So I'm going to say delay for, and let's choose, let's say 3 days. I mean, it has a minimum of one would work, but I'm going to say 3. So what happens now is after they get the email, the reminder email on a Monday morning, they'll then stay there for 3 days. Then they get the tag added back to the profile again, and that puts them back into the top of the automation again. So if this email gets sent on a Monday, they wait for 3 days. So that would be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thursday they drop down, get the tag added again, and that puts them back into the top of the automation on the Thursday. They get the tag removed on the Thursday, and then they stay here until the following Monday, because this email sequence can only be sent on a Monday. And then the process just repeats ad infinitum for as long as you have that tagged in there. The email gets sent on the Monday again, they wait for another 3 days. On the Thursday we add the tag again, it goes back to the top and it drops in. So you can just see the way that never-ending loop works. And if people want to be removed from that reminder, you can set that up with a tag where they can opt in or opt out of that. So that's how you can set up an email to be sent out every week, the same email, and you don't need to do anything. It all happens on autopilot.